Okay,
happens.
we'll stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See, this is the desk.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for October 6, 2014. Roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett,
Here.
Michael Cashman.
Here.
Gerard Bernadette.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Rick Collins.
Resolution 318, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of September 15, 2014 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed
Have a
with.
motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadek, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 319, abstract 10A through 14.
Resolved that the abstract of audit of claims number 10A-14, 1736 to 1888 for $774,208.01, and abstract 10A-14, 354 to 385 prepays in the amount of $685,324.61 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisors hereby authorized to pay such.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 320, Highway Superintendent's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from James Wood, Superintendent of Highways, for the month of August 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 321, tentative budgets filed for 2015.
Whereas the 2015 tentative budget for the town of Plattsburgh was duly filed in the town clerk's office. Now therefore be resolved, the town board, town of Plattsburgh does hereby receive and place on file the 2015 tentative budget from the town clerk per town law, section 106-3. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
Do we need to note the correction is also on file now?
Yes, I wanted to do that. There was a budget delivered to the clerk's office on Friday. We learned that the comparatives, we have 2013-14 and the budget for 2015, the one for 14, the wrong numbers were used, so that has been corrected. It will be launched on the town's website. I believe that was done today as well, and the clerk has the updated copy. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 322, authorization to transfer funds maintained at Key Bank to Glens Falls National Bank and close accounts at Key.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh maintains numerous bank accounts, escrow accounts, checking accounts with various financial institutions, and whereas in an attempt to save ongoing escalating bank maintenance fees, the finance manager of the town of Plattsburgh has researched and examined the status of the aforementioned accounts and has recommended that they be closed and moved to an existing facility so as to save ongoing bank maintenance fees. Therefore, it be resolved, the town of Plattsburgh supervisor is authorized to transfer funds from key bank accounts listed below to Glens Falls National Bank, and that the supervisor be authorized to sign any and all documents in order to effectuate the foregoing. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager.
Motion,
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to note that the town of Plattsburgh has always tried to do business with every bank within the municipality, but according to the letter that we received from Pat Bowen, Key Bank's charges have been in excess of the interest we receive, so obviously we cannot continue to kind of cast money away. So it was a smart move and a necessary move.
Yeah, and, you know, we do want to acknowledge our finance manager also for staying on top of those accounts and doing the research. I know there have been a number of meetings with the individuals and the banks that manage municipal accounts to discuss the situation of the fees. And the amount we were paying, unfortunately, was going to be costing us to let them sit on our money. I mean, it just makes no sense. But it also reflects the times that banks aren't to go crazy about doing business with municipalities, unfortunately, even fine ones like us. So it's a very positive move to try to save money, and certainly we do the same. If the climate changes with the key, then they would be considered in the future. It should also be noted, we haven't had any feedback lately from them concerning when we go out to bid for bonds. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Roy Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 323, North Country Life Flight.
Whereas North Country Life Flight Incorporated is a nonprofit, tax-exempt corporation which is responsible for all aspects of patient care by providing medical equipment, trained medical personnel, and administration of medical portion utilizing New York State Police helicopter based in Saranac Lake and private fixed-wing aviation resources. Whereas New York State Police and private fixed-wing aviation resources do not provide medically trained team or medical equipment for patient transport. And whereas the people of Clinton, Essex, Franklin, Hamilton, and St. Lawrence counties receive vital emergency medical service, which is free of charge to critically ill and seriously injured patients. Therefore, municipal governments are asked to pledge monies for a worthwhile program. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, hereby authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with North Country Life Flight Incorporated for the purpose of operating the medical component of the medevac program, which is to service residents and visitors for an amount of $1,500 and represents the town share for 2015. And it be further resolved that the sum of $1,500 be charged to the Community Service Fund account budget 2015. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second. Mr.
Second.
Renadette, any discussion?
Bernie, I'm reading this over again because I was reading the letter. It doesn't mention in here that this year they will be celebrating their 25th anniversary being in service in the North Country. And I can't speak for the first 7 or so years, but in the 18 years that I've been around, I don't think that this amount has ever increased.
No, I
It's a service that's being provided at a cost that has been maintained for at least 18 years.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing. My 9 years, it's been $1,500 every single time. In fact, there was something on television recently about the Life Flight. It's an amazing service. Ricky also corrected the dates on this, and I left the reading to verify that. The contract does talk about the 2015 budget. So I believe that would be correct. I don't know how we missed in the resolution that you have, it was noted as 2014. The only thing I'm not sure, and I want to clarify now, that the amount being spent, I'm not sure if that is coming out of this budget for 2015 or the 2015 budget. And I have no notes to indicate either one. So that may be, and maybe we want to correct it to read the account in either the 2014 or 15 budget. I don't recall if that fund has been expended yet this year. We may be paying it out of this year's budget for 2015.
Okay.
I just don't know. This is the way the resolution was drafted, but it is clearly for 2015. That's what the contract's for, so I just don't know if it's out of
It
the...
says it runs off the calendar year
Right.
for 2015.
But I just don't know if it's, the funds to pay for that come out of this year's budget or next year's. So, what I guess I would ask, just to be safe, is in that resolve, the first resolve, we might note it, that for the purpose of operating the medical component of the medevac program, which will serve its residents and visitors for the amount of $1,500, which represents the town's share.
As
No,
noted
it's
per contract.
the next resolve would be that the sum of $1,500 be charged to the Community Services Fund account, and just drop it there. We won't specify which year, and then we'd be okay. It will come out of the Community Services Fund account. I just don't know if it's 14 or 15. If we put 15 and it's in for this year, just, you know what I mean? If we just take that out, Mike and Jerry, if you're comfortable with that?
Not a problem.
No, we should,
So we just end that resolve with account. Okay. Any other discussion?
just while we're on this, I think it might be worthwhile for us to consider passing a future resolution in regards to their anniversary. Just while we're thinking of it, because I don't think anybody doesn't see this as a remarkable and outstanding program. But I think from time to time, it's a nice reminder for folks to know that we appreciate the service that they're doing.
I will research that and draft something. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Art Renner?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, resolution passes as amended. Resolution 324, franchise renewal agreement.
Whereas Clinton County Cable Television Council, of which the town of Plattsburgh is a member, has negotiated with Falcon First Cable of New York Incorporated, DBA Charter Communications, to renewal a TV council members, municipal members collective franchise agreement between the municipalities and Charter. Whereas public hearings on said agreement have taken place, the town of Plattsburgh has renewed the negotiated agreement, and the town attorney has approved the renewal agreement as to form. Now therefore be resolved, the town of Plattsburgh Town Board approves the franchise renewal between the town of Plattsburgh and Charter Communications, and authorize the supervisor to execute the same for the town. And it be further resolved, final approval and execution of said franchise agreement is subject to approval of New York State Public Service Commission.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renner, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Gerard Renner?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 325, resignation of Javi Hyatt as planning board member.
Resolved to receive and place on file, effective immediately, a letter of resignation from Javi Hyatt as a member of the town of Plattsburgh Planning Board. And it be further resolved that the supervisor, on behalf of the town board, send a letter of appreciation thanking Mr. Hyatt for his past service to the town and wishing him well with his future endeavors. And it be further resolved, a copy of this resolution be given to Phil Von Bargen, excuse me, Planning Department Head, and Robert Pearl, Planning Chairman.
Have a motion.
So,
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renner, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman?
yes.
Gerard Renner?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 326, resignation of Kevin Hobart as planning board alternate board member.
Resolved to receive and place on file, effective immediately, a letter of resignation from Kevin Holbert as an alternate member of the town of Plattsburgh Planning Board. And it be further resolved that the supervisor, on behalf of the board, send a letter of appreciation thanking Mr. Holbert for his past service to the town and wishing him well with his future endeavors. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to Phil Von Bargen, Planning Department Head, and Robert Pearl, Planning Chairman.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renner, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
George Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 327, Planning Board Member Appointment, Sadie Letterow.
Whereas an existing vacancy on the planning board for a board member, and whereas Sandy Latterell has been an alternate on the planning board and is willing to serve as a regular planning board member. Therefore be resolved, the town board does hereby appoint Mrs. Latterell, a resident of the town of Plattsburgh, to the planning board for a term to expire December 31st, 2014. And it be further resolved that Mrs. Latterell take the oath of office within 30 days of this resolution, and the supervisor send a letter of appointment and appreciation to Mrs. Latterell. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the planning department head, chairman of the planning board, and a certified copy also be given to Mrs. Latterell.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
Just one question, is that date correct? That her-
Yes.
Her term will expire at the end of this year?
Yes, the vacancy was due to expire at the end of the year, but
Okay,
he resigned.
all right,
So we'll have to look at, redone that.
right.
We'll do it again. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael
Yes.
Cashman. George Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 328, 3% subdivision return deposit from Presidential Isle subdivision, 1989.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has been notified by Mr. Robert Vins requesting a refund of his 3% construction deposit. Whereas the town planning department has reviewed the Presidential Isles project file and the planning board resolution of 99-69 on September 14th, 1999 to close Mr. Vines' subdivision file and approval of his refund of deposit less review costs associated with the project, yet this refund was never returned by the town to the applicant. Whereas Presidential Isle subdivision 1989 has been filed with the town of Plattsburgh a 3% construction deposit for the project in the original amount of $1,110 plus accrued interest. And whereas the planning department has requested that the 3% deposit in the amount of $1,110 plus accrued interest to date, less review costs, be returned as determined by the planning board resolution 99-69. Now therefore be resolved, supervisors hereby authorized and directed to release of said deposit in the amount of $1,110 plus accrued interest to date, less review costs. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded by the planning department secretary with the return of deposit to Mr. Robert Vines and to the accounting department.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
Bernie, in the first resolve, should it state less review cost in there? I think that was carried over, but this is actually closing the account. There's no review cost that'll be held back. We're gonna be returning all the money to him?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. Looking back over Mr. Bombardi's letter, I don't see any note other than the deposit plus accrued interest. And, excuse me, he does note there were $710.87 review costs to be refunded to Mr. Viennes.
Unless, okay.
Less 700?
I'm just not, I'm curious as to what the 710.87 review cost was.
Apparently costs to review that project that were never collected.
Huh, all right.
That's the only documentation I have, which would be why that's in the resolution.
I don't want to delay any refunding of the money, but just for the record, I'll be checking with Phil to find out, because I'm curious as to why there's a review cost after the fact on a project that was closed out in '99.
Should have been addressed then, but obviously wasn't.
Okay, thank you.
Let me know what you find out.
All right.
I'll leave that in your lap then. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 329, 3% site plan return deposit from Nova Bus Site Plan Amendment 2013.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Planning Board has reviewed and approved all requirements for Nova Bus Site Plan 2013. Whereas Nova Bus Site Plan Amendment 2013 has on file with the town of Plattsburgh a 3% deposit for construction of their project in the original amount of $2,006.94 plus accrued interest. Whereas the planning department has coordinated inspection of said project and reports all requirements have been met and completed. Whereas Nova Bus Site Plan Amendment 2013 has requested in a letter that the 3% deposit in the amount of $2,006.94 plus accrued interest to date be returned. Now therefore be resolved, the supervisor hereby authorized and directed to release of said deposit in the amount of $2,006.94 plus accrued interest to date. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded by the planning department secretary with the return of deposit to Nova Bus and the accounting department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashmore, any discussion? I'll point out on this one, and it matches the letter, there's no note about any other costs to be withheld, and the letter from the department indicates that the full $2,006.94 should be returned with the interest. So, yeah, there have to be some review costs that were never compensated for in the other.
And Bernie, not to reopen that old wound, but I flipped through a few of the other pages in that packet. There is a letter in there that is from Robert Pearl, which does spell out the review costs. It's in for the previous
What's the
resolution.
date on that?
September 8th, 1999.
You're correct. 1989.
1999. That's the date on the letter. And it totals up to $710.87. So there.
Correct. So there's some fees apparently were never received. That was sent by Mr. Sweeney.
Again, that resolution has been passed, but that opens up another question. Why are we returning interest accrued on money that we held, but not charging interest on money that was owed?
It's a good question. I don't know that we are. We don't have any amount there. It just simply indicates less the cost.
All right.
I don't think we could arbitrarily affix that to it if there had been no prior agreements.
I don't think we could either, but just I bring that point up.
But it's a good point.
Future note.
There have been some discussions, how those, and I would guess with this Nova Bus, we are caught up. How those got dropped, we know there's some changes in staffing then, et cetera, but we've conveyed with the department, we don't want to see that flag again. Hopefully it won't happen. Any other discussion on Resolution 329? Roll call.
Michael Cash?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 330, 3% site plan return deposit for Schluter Systems Site Plan 2012.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Planning Board has reviewed and approved all requirements of Schluter System Site Plan 2012. Whereas Schluter Site Plan 2012 has on file with the town of Plattsburgh a 3% deposit for construction of the project in the original amount of $1,170.66 plus accrued interest. Whereas the planning department has coordinated inspection of said project and reports all requirements have been met and completed. Whereas Schluter Systems Site Plan 2012 has requested in an email that the 3% deposit in the amount of $1,170.66 plus accrued interest to date be returned. Now therefore be resolved, supervisor hereby authorized and directed to release of said deposit in the amount of $1,170.66 plus accrued interest to date less review costs. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded by the planning department secretary with the return of deposit to Sluter Systems and to the accounting department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cash?
Yes.
Joy Renadette?
Yes.
Ernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 331, 3% site plan return deposit for DFCU Operations Center Site Plan 2013.
Whereas the Town of Plattsburgh Planning Board has reviewed and approved all requirements of Danamora Federal Credit Union Operation Site Plan 2013. Whereas the DFCU Operations Center Site Plan 2013 has on file with the Town of Plattsburgh a 3% deposit for construction of their project in the original amount of $8,250 plus accrued interest. Whereas the planning department has coordinated an inspection of said project and reports all requirements have been met and completed. Whereas DFCU Operations Center Site Plan 2013 has requested in a letter the 3% deposit in the amount of $8,250 plus accrued interest to date be returned. Now therefore be resolved, supervisors hereby authorized and directed to release of said deposit in the amount of $8,250 plus accrued interest to date. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded by the planning department secretary with the return of deposit to Danamora Federal Credit Union's operations center.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Ernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 332, 3% site plan return deposit for Schluter Systems Site Plan 2013.
Whereas the Town of Plattsburgh Planning Board has reviewed and approved all requirements of Sluter's Site Plan 2013, and whereas Sluter's Site Plan 2013 has on file with the Town of Plattsburgh a 3% deposit for construction of their project in the original amount of $1,182.07 plus interest, plus accrued interest. And whereas the planning department has coordinated inspection of said project and reports all requirements have been met and completed. Whereas Sluter Site Plan 2013 has requested in an email that the 3% deposit in the amount of $1,182.07 plus accrued interest to date be returned. Now therefore be resolved, the supervisors hereby authorized and directed to release of said deposit in the amount of $1,182.07 plus accrued interest to date, less review costs. And it is further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded by the planning department secretary with the return deposit to Sluter Systems Incorporated and to the accounting department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? I just want to note, Ricky picked it up correctly, the fourth whereas should be site plan 2013, there's a typo in there. Roll call.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 333, Clinton County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Whereas Clinton County Planning Office, with the assistance from the Town of Plattsburgh and Friends of the North Country Incorporated, has gathered information and prepared the Clinton County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazardous Mitigation Plan Update 2014. And whereas Clinton County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan Update has been prepared in accordance with the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. Whereas the Town of Plattsburgh is a local unit of government that has afforded the citizens an opportunity to comment and provide input into the plan and the actions in the plan. And whereas the Town of Plattsburgh has reviewed the plan and affirms that it will assist the county to update the plan no less than every 5 years. Therefore be resolved that the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board and that the Town of Plattsburgh adopts the Clinton County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan as the jurisdiction's national hazard mitigation plan, and resolved to execute the action in the plan contingent upon availability of funds and resources. And is it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, department heads, Clinton County Emergency Services, Clinton County Planning Department, and Friends of the North Country.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Basso?
Yes, resolution is carried. Resolution 334, establishing a public dog park at Cliff Haven Rec.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh desires to have a designated area for dogs to exercise freely off leash at the Cliff Haven Recreational Park. And whereas the Park and Recreation Department has been working with a group of community residents for the last 2 years on the development of the dog park and has determined that the location best suited to create a dog park is to the west and north of the recreation building at Cliff Haven Park. Whereas the proposed location provides an adequate space for construction of 2 areas to keep large and small dogs separate. Whereas the creation of a dog park could deter visitors and residents from having dogs dropped off their leashes in unauthorized areas. And whereas the dog park would create an additional recreation opportunity within the town of Plattsburgh. Now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the supervisor to transfer funds not to exceed $9,000 from the Cliff Haven Parkland deposit account to the Parks and Budget Line Improvement account to purchase fencing and materials to install the dog park. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, the recreation and youth service director, and the building and maintenance supervisor.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
I just want to share how exciting I am to see this project move forward. There's actually a couple people in the audience tonight that have been working to see this project get off the shelf, and I applaud Mal and Erin from the Recreation Department and Art who will help to do the installation. I think this is going to be just another service that our town provides members in our municipality, a place to recreate, to get their dogs out, and certainly while it's going to be over in Cliff Haven, any one of our residents are going to be able to use this. And as a continued development to make sure that people realize that it's their dog park, we're hoping to do a naming contest through the Parks and Recreation Department. And I think it'll be very exciting, and I'm looking forward to this in the next couple of weeks and months.
We appreciate your efforts on that also, Mike. And Mike, can you address where the funding is coming from?
Sure, it is coming from the Cliff Haven Parkland funds, so it's coming from the park itself, and we're not anticipating that it's going to even come close to the $9,000. We've gotten a couple of different looks at what fencing will be, and we're hoping that over the next year plus, that community members and local businesses will want to participate, maybe donating some fire hydrants or benches, some different bricks, and really beautify this space to make it something that we can all really be proud of.
And these are fees that are paid through the development process, construction process, that are only able to be used for items such as this. They can't be transferred, you can't use them to fill potholes or for any other purpose.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the other reasons that we identified Cliff Haven as an opportunity to do the dog park there. Yep.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Cashman?
Absolutely, yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Basso?
Yes, the resolution carries. Good job. If no one has any other business for us this evening, I'm going to seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second by Mr. Cashman. Any discussion on that? Is there any? And we will have a roll call to adjourn.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Basso?
Yes, we will stand adjourned at 7:34.